All right. Welcome back to the Lighthouse sessions. Today, you are about to drink from a fire hose because when Emanuel and I get together, things get crazy. You've met Emanuel before. Emanuel, welcome back to the show. What are you curious about? What's driving you crazy today in the world?
Oh, well, Jeff, I really appreciate being back in the conversation with you. I appreciate every minute we get to talk because there's always new thinking, and I get a lot out of it. So thanks for having me on.
Well, always a pleasure, and I know my audience enjoys it from the feedback I get. So today, you and I are going to talk about something strange. Now, for background, you are a marketer who is an entrepreneur first, I think, and I apparently am a marketer, but I see myself more on the customer service side. But one of the things you and I both have in common is we're absolutely obsessed with the pain points of our customers, because to me, that's the wishing well where people throw their money and say, I wish somebody would solve this.
Yeah, indeed. I think what drew me in from an early age was this kind of the problem solution call to action, which is the foundation of a lot of the advertising and marketing that I engage in. That and the hero's journey. That's the other framework that I use because it speaks deeply into the soul of people rather than just into their emotional wants and desires.
I love that. And anybody who knows me for more than 5 minutes knows that I will rant about the hero's journey and the lack of it in most places in a heartbeat. So let's jump in. Now, you and I were talking. One of my aha moments, and sorry, I got to plug this book because this book just broke my brain. If you've not read $1 Million Weekend, I believe Noah Kagan has shared the most simple business 101 tools and tactics in here. And he's got this amazing way to validate your business. So one of my biases is, sell it before you build it. And Noah is the first person I've seen who actually has a practical framework. So Emanuel and I were discussing this before we went live. But honestly, if you haven't read it, trust me, go get it. It will change your life. Now, Emanuel, when I read the book, one of the ahas for me, I'm obsessed with systems. I'm always thinking in frameworks and systems.
Yeah.
And I was looking at ChatGPT and I went, oh my God, a custom GPT is just a system. And then I looked at software and I went, oh my God, software is a system for consistently delivering a result. And yes. I don't know why I never thought of that.
Well, I love it. And I love how you approach the systems. And I think you and I are similar in that we see the world in systems. And I think, anyway, from my perspective, I see everything in a big scatterboard and then I reassemble it. And so that it makes sense to me. And so, we've had a lot of conversation about custom GPTs and, the soul doc and the constitution doc and creating exclusion word docs and previous work and then domains. And I love the custom GPTs because once you have the structure of what you need in a custom GPT, then it takes 4, 5, 6 hour processes and turns it into minutes. And I think the way I see this progression of AI right now is that we're you and I and other professionals who are on this train are building these custom GPTs, and then we're working to connect them with AI bots or agents, however you want to call it, and then bigger pieces of software. And so we're really getting a scalpel from all this foundational work that we've been doing for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years on generative AI.
Well, and I think the aha moment for me, and this might be unpopular with the younger people, but they're probably not watching anyways. My experience is the more wisdom we already have, the more we know our stuff, when we apply that to AI in general, ChatGPT specifically, that wisdom gets sharpened and refined. And it's kind of like polishing a diamond. It starts as a dull clump of coal, but once you cut it and polish it, it's multifaceted and it shines. So.
Well, I agree, and I'll tell you two quick stories that illustrate that for me. One is the concept of generative engine optimization. Right, I published a book last October, so it'll be 24 that I had written for about 4 months before that. It's the book that has been getting the most attention on Amazon for me. So I said, okay, well that's good. I need to do a version 2, and then I not only do I need to write the book, but then I need to have a good, better, best software offer so that people can actually take the information and then actually do something with it. And so I built a piece of software that I vibe coded that takes previously published blog posts and then rehabs it into being GEO optimized. So you're getting a double break there because you're updating and refreshing content, and you're not having to write anything new, but you're getting to reformat it in a way that can be scanned. And then I have another piece of software that runs the report, the GEO report, and gives people an action plan, and then also gives them the bigger packages. So you can get the free report, do it yourself. You can pay $47 a month and you can rehab your blog, or you can pay me $5,000 a month and I'll do it for you. And so that is the system that we understand in modern marketing, right? Is there's a lead magnet, there's a clear process by which somebody either self-educates and does it themselves, or self-educates and becomes a client. So that's been a really fun process for me, not only to learn about how the generative engines are finding information, but then creating some products, and then using the vibe coding to build products to servicize my products essentially.
And I think that's it's kind of funny because I used to pre-AI pre-generative AI. I can't even imagine a world pre-ChatGPT, but it was there. I'm sure it was. But the idea of creating a lead magnet, and I took offense to the term because I always felt it was a little bit manipulative. But now I recognize how valuable it is. The lead magnet should add value, should help your prospect answer some questions.
Yep.
And if it's done right, it brings them in, and it becomes that magnet and it draws them in. My vision, and you and I are going to talk about this at length, I'm sure. I love taking the hero's journey and mapping it into the customer journey. And if you let the customer be the hero, but the aha for me was that one of the fundamental problems with ChatGPT, as an example, is it's the broad world of everything.
Right.
It's like that movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and a lot of people come into the big world of ChatGPT and they don't know how to turn the noise down and filter. And that's what I realized with custom GPTs. It's my job to take away the noise.
Absolutely. And to keep it on brand and on voice and the scalpel rather than a big paintbrush, right?
Yeah. And I think that's, now I see, for a while I was really getting annoyed because everybody was, it seemed like every other post on LinkedIn was, hey, I just shipped my new software. And it's like, what are you shipping? It's AI.
Yeah. You just emailed some links around. It's not.
That's not shipping. But the aha moment, I had some, because it was so easy, I had great disdain for it because it wasn't earned wisdom. And what I realized, and this is where you and I are going to have the conversation today, I think, if you don't know what you're doing and you ask ChatGPT to tell you what to do, you got a really good chance that you're going to generate something really moronic or crazy or stupid, pardon the language. But when you give it to the hands, when you put it in the hands of a surgeon who knows what to do, it truly gives you that chance to change lives. And I think that's where you come in.
Yeah. No, I love it, and I agree. And so this morning, you connected me with somebody in your network, and it was somebody who you'd already connected us, and you're like, oh shoot, Emmanuel, why don't you create a referral tracker so that I don't ever do this again? And I said, yeah, that's an awesome idea. We need something like that. And if you look in your email, you got an email from me that is connecting you to me and to a man named Thad Barnes, and it is
Oh
it's
yes,
they're called the referral tracker. And so I've got now a working prototype in just a few hours of what
yeah.
a referral tracker would be, being able to upload your connections or add them one at a time, and then emailing from the platform itself in order to connect people. You've got weekly goals, you've got people in there that you want to connect, and obviously super rough prototype, but it
Yeah.
is something that in a matter of a few hours has something functional, and then through testing that you, me, and the people in our network do, we'll add secret sauce to it and requests to it, and then eventually it becomes something, if not not just super valuable for our group of referral people, but maybe even for the rest of the world. And then we're able to monetize those desires in a way and at a speed that's never been touched before.
I love it. And one thing I'll point out with vibe coding, and this is going to sound real like a grouchy old man. By the way, my two favorite Muppets are the two grouchy old guys, Waldorf and whatever. But one of the things I'm seeing is there's a lot of vibe coding going on that is pure garbage.
Absolutely.
And the garbage comes because the people doing it don't know what a good output versus a bad output looks like. I'm going to go back to the days of Sarah Palin and say, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. It looks good, but was it good? And I think the stuff when you and I resisted the term vibe coding. I was like, nope, that's not me. But the reality is it's somebody who understands the problem well. You and I have ranted about this many times together. When you understand the problem well, you create a solution that solves the problem, and then other people look at it and go, I have that problem too.
Yeah.
Whereas in my humble opinion, there's a lot of vibe coding where they understand the symptoms of the problem, but they don't bother to understand the root cause.
Well, I mean, I think it's an interesting time in that humans have lost touch with why we're incarnated, number one, and so everybody in Western culture thinks that their job is just to be a deca millionaire, drive a Lamborghini, and be on vacation on the beach. And you and I both understand that to be fallacious on multiple dimensions. Humans are incarnated to produce value and be creative and solve things for other humans. And we have to do that with love and intent to make the world a better place. To just make money, you and I could just make money if that's just what we want to do. But that's a shallow existence. It's a childlike definition of being in business. And so, yeah, every tool, and that's what the vibe coding is, that's what ChatGPT is this tool. And it's going to get wielded by children. It's going to get wielded by people with bad intent, and it's going to be wielded by people who have much better intent. And I believe that we're on the verge of the next big revolution in terms of creativity and expression, and that we're on the age of a second renaissance, because the computers will finally be doing the work that they need to do so that we have time to express full humanity again.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I heard a quote from Elon Musk a while ago, and he sort of smoothed over that first there's going to be chaos, and that's, I'm pretty blunt. Humanity's going to fall off a cliff. We're going to go into the dark ages. I'm hoping it's going to be short, and then the good's going to emerge and we will have that new renaissance. But I think we need to have, right now, I think we need to have trust broken enough that everybody says, okay, enough. We're going back to, we've got more ways to be connected now than ever before, and yet we've never been more disconnected. And true story, Emmanuel, my wife and I, we went to a restaurant the other day having a nice lunch, and I was looking around. We were the only table that didn't have our cell phones out.
Right. Yep.
And there was a group of 5 young ladies. They looked like they were 18, 19. All 5 of them sitting there at the table like this.
Probably DMing each other. That's what the best part is.
Well, the funny part was one of them, of the 5, was actually on a call. She had her phone on speaker, and she was talking to somebody that was not there.
Amazing.
And I was like, that is weird to me. But, if that's how people connect, great. But, I like to go out when my kids and I go out, the phones are not out because I'm talking to my kids.
Right.
And I genuinely believe, Simon Sinek said it well, I believe that humanity skews to good. And as you said, there are going to be people who are using AI to manipulate and to further their own agendas and things like that. But overall, I believe we have this unprecedented opportunity to do good. And, as an entrepreneur, I look at all of the little, I like to child-proof the world of business. So I look for all the little rough edges, and I put some little patches on with software. So that's I've spent a decade talking to people. How do you productize a service? And it's funny because a lot of, especially I work with accountants, they say, oh, well, I can't be productized. I'm not a commodity. And it's like, no. You look at it like a surgeon. If you've got a brain surgeon, a neurosurgeon, you don't want them wasting their time booking the patient in, fluffing their pillows, prepping them, doing the anesthetics. You want them to show up when it's time to cut. When they're done, get the heck out. We'll clean up after you. Don't worry about the mess. Yeah. And a lot of business owners, they want to do it all because they don't know what their unique skill is.
Well, it is a challenge that people have, and what I love about this space that we're in now is that everything administrative can now be coded into software and be implemented in just a few hours as you learn how to use some of these tools like Base 44 or Replit or something like that. Lovable.
Yeah, and I think I've shared this with you, but I built my own CRM, and then I accidentally built my own project management tool. And all I did was use a couple of pieces within the Google ecosystem using Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Sheets. And then they have this wonderful script engine on the back that ties everything together. Yeah. I'm like, why have I been doing this all my life as a chump, creating new folders, creating new files? But it's just, I look at it like this. I think most businesses die a death by 1,000 paper cuts. You got the entrepreneur who, okay, I just need to do this, and then I just need to do that, and then I'll get to that client proposal, but they never get to the client proposal because they're busy doing other things. If we can take away those paper cuts, the business will get healthier over time.
Yeah, and I think back to what you were saying, that Noah is bringing out in his book, and then also the book that was called Ready, Fire, Aim. Like those are I think the philosophies of being in action versus trying to think about it and make it perfect before you take any action, right? And I think that's the genius of it all is the prototyping and development time has been cut dramatically. And I'm not a computer programmer, and I've committed that I never will be because I don't, my brain doesn't work like that. I'm not good with rules, right? I can't deal with it. But I can conceive of the connections that humans need between activities in order to make their life more efficient and have more time to go and sit by a creek or to learn to play the guitar or paint a picture.
Yeah. And to some extent, a lot of coding, not all, but a lot of it is administrative. The hardest part, in my humble opinion, and if somebody wants to come at me on that, great. I believe the hardest part is figuring out the logic. Once you know the logic, it's just a question of assembling the puzzle based on the pieces. Right. Now, there is an art to that too. I'm not diminishing it, but what I see a lot is software built. And between us, I saw multi-billion-dollar company. They built a software platform over the course of 2 years of multi-million-dollar development. They had to throw it out and start over because they built it on, it was when the internet went from web 1.0 to 2.0, and minor detail, their cloud-based software was not compatible with the new web.
Right.
I was like, you're a cloud company. You should know this.
Yeah. Somebody should have spoken up at one of the meetings.
Yeah. But, you know, in that case, they had too many hands, not enough brains. And, you know, it cost them at least $20 million, which to them it was nothing. But it also caused reputational damage because their long-awaited launch, oh, we're going to be another 2 years.
Right. Yeah. That's not good. But that's typical in the world of software, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, it's funny that I've seen many startup companies, and, you know, they start fast and they launch something, and I'm all about the minimum viable product, because as smart as I am and as smart as you are, somebody's going to find a way to break it, and we're going to go, oh, I never thought somebody would think to do that.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, I built one custom GPT, and you'll find this amusing. She was built as a specialist. Her entire job is to help somebody get clear on who their avatar is and who they serve.
Yeah.
Well, I gave it to somebody.
What's her name?
Patricia Parker.
Patricia. Yeah, that's right.
It's scary that you remember my weird imaginary friends and their names. Patricia is my favorite.
Okay.
But it was funny because people broke her all the time, because I'd give them a specialist and they'd say, Patricia, could you help me write a blog post? And it didn't occur to me to teach her to say no. So Patricia would say, sure, I can write a blog post.
Yeah, of
And I
course.
was like, but she's not trained to do that. That's my aha moment is, you know, somebody, I always give it to people who have less of a technical and less of a subject area expertise, because they'll break it in ways you never thought of.
Without a doubt. Yeah. So then the other way that I'm using this now is I have a 10-step framework for implementing AI into a business. And so at each step, I have built software or frameworks or downloadable things so that people have access to new thinking and new training and new tools. And so the strategynavigator.ai is a strategic planning tool that I built, and it has two functions. One, you can just, if you don't know how to do strategic planning, it'll walk you through it and basically build a plan for you by answering 10 questions. Or you can go through the standard route of getting your team together and building out mission, vision, values, your BHAG from Jim Collins, and SWOT analysis and all those things, and end up with a functional 30, 60, 90-day plan in order to implement AI or whatever product release that you need to make happen. And so I released it. I did a talk in a group of an AI seminar, and then we didn't have the permissions set enough to be able to absorb that many users because I didn't have my credit card in the right spot. So it went 404 on me after the first 50 users.
There's nothing more humbling than testing but I love that number one, you're laughing at it. That tells me you got the right mindset. But if you'd never done it, you wouldn't know the limits, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that is the challenge of the vibe coding, right? Is that it's not necessarily hardened for that type of retail use. And so, you're good to 100 users, and then you got to shift it into real server land. But it's part of the ready, fire, aim thing, which is, I know this is a gap. 9 out of 10 small businesses, consultants, and coaches do not have any kind of strategic plan. They have never been through the process, or they did day one in order to get a bank loan. But they're unstructured in that way. I know it's a need, but are people going to want to participate and actually go through the process or not? That's what I don't know. That's what I'm figuring out.
Well, it's fascinating because I literally, just before this call, I was on with a community organization. I won't name names, but their mandate is to help businesses thrive and grow. And I asked them what their strategic planning process is, and they went, "What now?" I went, oh God, this is, sorry, I rant, but there's a pandemic of lack of awareness. And, I find it fascinating because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't get a job, I'll just become an entrepreneur. And my advice is think carefully on that.
Yeah, exactly. DoorDash is a way better idea if that's the
Yep.
situation. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I tell people to start with Uber, Skip, DoorDash, because until you're an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things that will kill your business before you even got it off the ground. And lack of strategy is my number one rant, because I've worshipped at the altar of Sun Tzu as long as I can remember. And it fascinates me that people say, oh, I don't have time for strategy.
No.
Okay. I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just like saying, hey, I'm going to ask ChatGPT how to get me more customers and just boil the ocean, right?
Yeah. Let's hope this works. But I truly believe that the reason 80% of small businesses fail is the lack of strategy. And I do have, it's funny we're talking today because my next time slot, I am going to be playing with Strategy Navigator, and I will do my level best to break it for you, not to be mean.
Yes, no, I want you to. I count on you for that, Jeff.
That's, it's funny. And I think that's, once you get into this world of vibe coding and solving problems with software, I think that's what we're going to call it. I think you called it service as a software. The reality is, when you adopt that framework of looking for a problem, finding a solution, it becomes very addictive, and it also becomes very productive, because I know a lot of really, really smart people who see a lot of problems and they're going the long way to solve it. And it's like, do you know software could do that for you?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, the next big product I'm working on, and this is the one that's eating my brain, is a 90-day marketing plan and content being created with ICPs and where we're reaching them and how and what the messaging is. So we're going to have 3 ICPs and a 90-day marketing plan. Upload the custom GPT into it, and then it produces all the stuff, and then connecting that up with all the delivery mechanisms with the schedule to make that happen. So it is it's a lot to plan in advance.
But if you plan it in advance, it, number one, works better, but number two, it gets done. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest challenge with a lot of businesses, is the lack of consistency. And I'm going to share something that made my head hurt, and I think it'll make yours hurt. But misery loves company. I have a friend who is very specific and very strategic about his avatar. He can tell you how they eat, what they think, he knows everything about them. And the number one thing is they're looking for, he does back end for ISPs. He does the security for cybersecurity for tech companies. Nice. He's very clear on who his avatar is. And then he outsourced everything to the Philippines, and he hired this person. You're going to cringe. Their title was CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. But when I looked at all of the content this person had produced over the last year, my friend couldn't figure out why his business went from big and strategic to he was getting little one-off projects, and it was very, very tactical. And so I ran his website through one of my little filters, and it was everything that the message should have been. It was literally the exact opposite. And he was like, oh, how could I do this? And he's blaming the CMO. And I said, I'm sorry, but the fault is yours. You delegated strategy. And one of the aha moments, and again, nothing against the Philippines, they have a very tactical view of the world, and they're just paid to do the thing. So the guy's checkbox was 90 days of blog posts. Check, check, check.
Yeah.
Nobody thought to say to the standard of, but it was funny because instead of the abundance mindset of the founder, everything this guy created had this scarcity mindset of the CMO. And I'm sorry, but you can't call yourself a CMO if you're just doing tactics.
Right. Well, yeah, and that is, I mean, a professional marketer is able to separate themselves from whatever the product or service is, right? They're not selling out of their own back pocket.
Yeah.
There was a time which I was selling early in the LED light bulb days. I was selling $100 per light bulb LED bulbs that were a 60-watt equivalent, blah, blah, blah. At that point, I couldn't afford to buy those bulbs myself, but I was selling, hundreds of thousands of dollars every month because you can get focused on outcomes for the humans and then feed them either the emotional experience or the tactics or the facts about the bulbs that they want to know in order to make that buying decision. So, yeah, but that's a tough one. That also brings back the human in the loop, right? And we're not just human in the loop for the computer, but also for work product that's created by our team.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have a mantra, and I will credit Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week with this. I always look at what can I eliminate, then I look at what can I automate, and only then I look at what could I delegate. And I think most people don't delegate, they abdicate. They go, here, you figure it out. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you can't abdicate or delegate strategy. Strategy belongs to us, the owner, the founder, or our management team. And then what I like about the human in the loop, and I think that's, I pissed somebody off the other day because they said, oh, I'm an AI expert. And I said, really? I guarantee you're using it wrong. And I forgot to say my signature, no offense. But she's like, well, how do you know that? Just talking to me. And I said, because of things you've said. And it wasn't arrogance, and it wasn't me being mean. It was just, she said, oh, I use ChatGPT, the free version. Okay. You listening to this, Emanuel? She's a CMO for hire, a fractional. She uses the free version of ChatGPT. And I said, I'm going to stop you there. If you're not willing to pay $20 a month for the paid version, you're not getting the best model. And you're telling me you don't care.
Right. Yeah.
And it was just funny. She was really offended. But then she went away and she messaged me later and said, you were right. And I'm like,
Yeah, thanks for confirming that. I hadn't even thought about it again.
Yeah, I'd moved on in the world, but but I think that's the piece that everybody wants to, we want that easy button and we just want to forget things. But what I realized, and this is where you and I are going to change the world, and this is where that new renaissance comes in. We obsess over the little things that nobody else cares about so that the world will not have to care about it. Right. One of my weird innovations, I'm just obsessed right now. Some Japanese engineer has created this tool. They put little springs in floors of public transit, like in the train stations. So the kinetic energy from people walking on it actually generates the electricity that powers the thing.
Love it.
That's what we were meant to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's genius.
It's we're not meant to solve, how do I get 10,000 followers on TikTok? I don't care. But, people like you and I, we're going to look at the world and we're going to, why doesn't that exist?
How do we make it easier? Absolutely.
Now, it's no secret. I absolutely love you, Emanuel. You are amazing. For my audience, if you've made it this far, you drank through the fire hose, where can people go to connect with you? How can they learn more about the amazing Emanuel Rose?
Well, you can type in Emanuel Rose marketer into ChatGPT or Google, and you'll find me that way, or you can go to emmanuelrose.com. Or strategicmarketing.com, and I'd love to connect and talk about absolutely anything that's going on in AI or in marketing, and love to meet people, and love to have people on the podcast that I have, Marketing in the Age of AI, and the corollary, the antidote, which is called Nature Bound.
I do love that. I think, what do you have, 3 podcasts now or 2?
I have 3. Yeah, the other one is Behind the Podcast Mic, because I love to talk about podcasting too.
Love it. You and I are going to have another conversation on that one, I think. Now, I'm going to throw a curveball at you, and I didn't warn him it was coming. You and I have recently been reading a book by Wendy Lipton-Dibner called What Matters Matters Most. What are you seeing in terms of how that might change what you do in your business from the concept of impact ripples?
I think it's fascinating. I'm a student of a philosopher called Fernando Flores, and his thing is about one of his concepts is a Heideggerian concept about permanent domains of human concern, and that we have, body and play and sociability, family, work, education, career, money, all these things, situations, spirituality, these things that exist, whether we accept them or not, they're part of our culture, or part of our experience, and what's fascinating is that she came and figured these things out on her own and has different names for them. And so the work is very grounded in soul and in psychology. And the thing that it reminds me of is that we're not providing the thing in the work that we're doing. We're providing the outcomes and the possibility of somebody getting the next thing that they want out of their life and out of the world, and being more in touch with that the story of positive denouement and the story of the hero returning with the successful acquisition.
I love it. And I think you and I spend hours obsessing over the hero's journey, and depends on my mood. Some days I like the Hollywood 3-act one, the shortcut. Most of the time I play with the 12 steps. And when I'm really, really feeling it, I will go back to Joseph Campbell's 17 steps. And, it's not so much for my benefit, but it's understanding. And I had Mike Verrett on the show yesterday, and he was talking about what motivates your customer, and that is the only thing that matters in your messaging. If your customer isn't motivated, nothing else matters.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of the secret sauces of my custom GPTs is my hero's journey doc. So I'll just share that.
Okay, we're gonna have an episode just on the hero's journey because I think we could have some fun there. Now, one of the things, and you and I will talk about this off air, but when I first started ChatGPT, because it's a general model, it kept wanting to put me in as the hero of the hero's journey. Right. And I'm like, no, I am not the hero here. I am the crazy mentor they find in stage 4, and that I help them see the light. Yes. But I actually finally got it to speak. And it really struggled with using me in the second person and saying you. It kept wanting to use me as third person, and it was just funny. But these are the weird things you and I obsess over: is how do we get it to say, refer to Jeff as you rather than Jeff or he or whatever. Just
take the titles out of it and just tell the story, right? I mean, come on, you're so hard coded to just follow directions. Can't you just be a little bit illustrative?
Well, it was funny. The first versions, as the model weights change over time, it would give me really good chapter titles for the first few stages, but always it would come back with Return of the Elixir. And I'm like, nobody understands that phrase.
Yeah, nobody's. Yeah, just the 3 of us, and it's not going to help sell anything.
It's like, okay, I'm sure there's maybe a cult or a community of people who obsess over the hero's journey. If not, Emmanuel and I will probably be starting it.
Yeah, they're called unions. There's a whole group of them, and they're way smarter than either of us.
Sweet. We need to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm going to point out one last thing just for wrapping up, and then I'll let you have your last thing. For those who don't know, Emmanuel and I have a Friday AI group, and the idea is for people who are changing the world with AI, we show up and we're meant to talk about the technical and the AI. I think it's funny because we've mostly talked about business basics and some version of the hero's journey. We are always talking about communication.
Yeah.
And I think that's the secret with ChatGPT. If you know how to communicate, most of what you need to do is already there.
And the directness of it, right? I think a lot of people tend to use the emotional intelligence they have learned for humans, and they apply it into their conversations with the models, and it isn't necessarily a one-to-one correlation for efficacy.
Yeah. Now it's funny, Emmanuel, because I saw somebody. I hate when people post the one-size-fits-all prompts and say, "Here's the secret to all your answers," and I'm like, "Oh, just no." But the one was how to get ChatGPT to give you candid feedback. And the funny thing between you and me, the prompt itself was okay.
Yeah.
But I was like, that prompt is going to fall apart the minute you get to the 5th iteration because the model is going to change.
Right.
And it's like, if you understand why the prompt works, great. But if you don't understand why it works, you copy and paste it. Guess what?
It's like a pop musician and the depth of music knowledge that they have versus somebody like Bruno Mars who can play every instrument, right? Like, unless you understand the fundamentals of music, you're going to be an okay musician. You might be successful in performing, but you're never going to have a mastery of music, right?
Yeah. It's like those late night commercials that sell you the 6 chords you need to learn to play any song on guitar. It's like, learning 6 chords does not make me a musician. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So
backup for somebody, but not a musician.
There's just this different levels of inquiry, and you and I are orthodox in our approach in most things, or else we don't engage in them.
Yeah. All right. Well, Emmanuel, it was an absolute pleasure as always. And my audience always loves to have more of you on the show. So thank you for being with me today.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Jeff. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.